Ever wonder why you keep thinking about food all day? Here's another one. Is it actually always a bad thing that you're thinking about food all day? Little spoiler on that. If I say always or never, and it's a yes or no question, normally the answer is going to be no. So in this case, it's not always a bad thing, but we'll get into that. There's the tactical fitness and weight loss stuff that contribute to why you're constantly thinking about your next meal, thinking about snacking, wondering about portion sizes, wondering if you can have this sweet treat, salty treat. Are you being good? Are you being bad? The mental tug of war, the anxiousness around food choices. We're going to talk about why you're thinking about it, and then we're also going to provide a little bit of kind of the in between. You will find that a lot of what I talk about is a lot of how the fitness industry positions things are absolutes, this side or this side, but the answer for everybody is usually somewhere in between the two, and it's individual and it's contextual. So we will get into that. That is the whole point of, is it a bad thing that you're thinking about food in between meals? So we'll get into that. But the thing is this isn't a matter of willpower on its own. And you shouldn't actually have to rely on willpower um, in between meals, because eventually the willpower is going to run out and you're going to lose that battle. And anybody that's like, well, just get used to being hungry. Yeah, I mean, there's times where you can't eat right away, but hungry is not something that I want to willingly choose for myself to be in. I want to make sure that if I'm eating and I'm on a fitness and weight loss plan, what's the least amount of food that I can eat, but still feel satisfied? That's what I'm looking for. Now, what's happening usually if you're trying to lose weight is you are consistently not eating enough for yourself. And a lot of times, because see, it's very easy to get into this thought process of, well, if I'm, and we'll just say that you're doing estimates of shooting for a 500 calorie deficit a day. You got your estimate that your tracker on your wrist is telling you. You got your estimate from the tracking app that you're using, and you're trying to look at this and say, okay, based off of the estimate of what I'm burning each day and what I'm taking in, I want there to be a 500 calorie deficit. Well, so you do the 500 calorie deficit, and first couple of weeks you're a day, and you're pretty happy for the first couple of weeks, but then the progress stalls, and then we all get into this thought process around calorie deficits that if some is good, more is better, and even more than that is fantastic, because we've been convinced that like it's not only about losing the weight, but it's in some weird way it's about losing the weight as fast as you possibly can. It really is a weird thing if you think about how all this stuff is presented to us. But basically, what's happening is you continually over those weeks have not been eating enough food for yourself, both in calories, and I would argue a lot, especially if you fall into a lot of the there's nothing wrong. Again, we'll talk about nuance and stuff a lot here. There's nothing wrong with the packaged diet foods, but it's very easy, especially when you start really getting into counting calories or macro counting even more so. The food products are perfect for that because they can put like high protein, high fiber, low carb on the package. And if you're like, I got to get my macros in, I got to do, you just, it's very easy because with the packaged foods, they can dial up the added protein or fiber however they want. They just can't. So they love you counting macros, but that's a little bit of a side tangent, which we'll get into a few of those. Trust me. But what's happening is you're not eating enough, both from a calorie standpoint, probably a volume standpoint, because if you're eating like fruits and vegetables and drinking water, like that stuff will absolutely help you stay fuller in most cases. So you're not eating enough calories. You're probably not getting enough vitamins and minerals and fruits and vegetables, and the willpower only lasts for so long. And when you're fighting it, that noise in your head just gets louder and louder, right? So, and then the more you're fighting it, the more you tell yourself you can't have it. I don't know about you. There have literally been foods that I just have decided I'm not going to eat these for a while, and I probably hadn't even eaten that particular food in months. And then as soon as I tell myself, "Oh, can't have it," then I want it. Right? You ever experienced that? Have you experienced it this week, this month? Probably. I know I like it's so weird. It's like anytime I tell myself, "Oh, I want to cut it out completely," that's when I want it. Right? So, and if you're trying to make a there's a fine line here, because if you're trying to be in a deficit, you're trying to restrict a little bit, you're gonna be thinking about it. You're gonna be running scenarios, you're gonna be running numbers, playing if this then that, um, in your head, right? Like if I make this choice, can I do this? And the thing is wherever you have started to gravitate towards dieting or eating for weight loss, like you, your brain is just accustomed to focusing on it. So you're used to emphasizing it. This stuff has become very familiar for you to do. Um, and then the interesting thing, and this will kind of tie into the is the noise always bad? You've become too focused, or you if you're focusing on like constantly thinking about food, it's easy to put certain labels or put them in certain buckets, usually good food and bad food. This is good, this is bad. Now, if you label things good and bad and you're thinking about food all the time, food as a reward is something you got to be very careful with, because it'll be very much like you're trying to balance it out, right? Like I did this workout, or I've been good all week, so now I'm gonna like go. Nothing wrong with going face down in a pint of Ben and Jerry's. I've done it quite a few times. I'll probably do it again, and I'll also own it when I do it, and I'll have zero guilt around it, as you should too. But if I've put the label that the workout I did was good, the salad I ate was good, and the pint of ice cream put a bad label on it, and then I'm like trying to run this balance thing, right? So, you know, the more we can take those labels off and just look at food as choices. And some things, I just mentioned the pint of Ben and Jerry's and eating that guilt free. For me, it's taking ownership of I'm going to eat some of this ice cream. Now, actually, I used to eat entire pints of ice cream fairly regularly, once every couple of weeks. Now I have a bunch of pints in my freezer, and I'll eat maybe half, maybe half. I usually will get two or three servings, or yeah, two or three sittings out of a pint of ice cream. Thank you, shrinkflation. You really helped me there. Anyway, um, now using food as a reward or enjoying it emotionally. This is where we start to get into the second question, which is it good? Is it good or bad that you're thinking about food? I think if it's a food that you enjoy, or if you're going to have an experience, like you're experiencing something. Yes, if you're in a group about the company you're with, people will tell you that. Like just enjoy yourself, do it guilt free. Well, some people will. Some people will say that you should still like do this entire laundry list of preparing to eat. I'm not a fan of that. But I will also tell you, sometimes this is where my pint of Ben and Jerry's would come in, which has turned into like a smaller serving. But even if I wanted a pint of Ben and Jerry's, and I'm like, I've had a really rough day, I've had a rough week. You know what I really want right now is a pint of Ben and Jerry's. And what I would say is, I'm deciding to eat this. This is what I will tell myself. And I am taking ownership of this decision. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I've given myself permission to eat it. I'm not failing. That's a whole nother conversation. You're not failing by food choices. Because here's the thing, when you make a food choice, you got other choices coming up really soon. You're going to be making more choices around food. So look at the choice you made, learn from it if you need to, and get ready, because with eating and exercise, you're going to have more choices. Just like in life, you got choices coming up that you got to make. So I want you to give yourself grace and lead with compassion when you have emotions with food. Because this is one thing. I understand that the food noise gets really, really loud. I understand that the mental tug of war gets really, really loud and is very much a back and forth in your head on what you should do and what you want to do. And I'm going to tell you, the more that you can not beat yourself up, own the decisions that you make, and it takes practice in doing this. But again, that's why we talk about this regularly. The more you practice it, the easier it's going to get. So as we talk about food noise, each time we talk about food noise, I want you to be very kind and compassionate to yourself when it comes to the emotions that you have with food. Until we talk about this again. I want you, just for the next week, when you make a decision, own it. Own the decision. Be like, I ate the cinnamon roll. I ate the foot-long sandwich and had the chips. But own it. Because the more that you're able to remove the negative thoughts and feelings that you've picked up over a course of a lifetime when it comes to food, that noise is going to start to quiet down a little bit. It's never going to be 100%. There's going to be times you got a mental tug of war going on. I understand that. That's how it works. But the quieter it is, and the more you're able to keep it where it, at a reasonable level, not try to drown it out, because then it comes back louder, right? But the less guilt you feel around your food choices, the less anxiousness you feel around your food choices, which again, ownership really helps with this. The quieter the noise will tend to get. So that is what I have for you. Now, if you're listening on the podcast, welcome. If you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and subscribe. Once you've subscribed, please rate and review wherever it is that you're listening, and share this episode with somebody that you think would enjoy hearing it. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. If you like what you're watching or listening to, go ahead and subscribe and share this video with somebody that you think might want to watch or listen to it. Also with YouTube, they're recommending a video to you right now based off that they think you would like to watch. Go ahead and check that out. Don't spend a ton of time on the channel, though. I got a lot of content for you. I don't want you to spend that much time consuming it, but you can watch that video if you want. Anyway, so that is what I have for you. Thank you as always for listening and watching. I'll talk to you again real soon.